Trinity was born normal. She had absolutely no issue at birth. I had a full-term pregnancy and a very natural and beautiful delivery. So there was absolutely nothing wrong with her when I had her. Now, 24 hours after birth, I noticed while they were piercing her ears that her eyes were not as white as they ought to be. So I drew the attention of the nurse and I said, my baby's eyes are not as white as they ought to be. Is there something wrong? Is this something that I should worry about? And she just brushed it off and said, oh no, your baby is fine. It's normal. Not everybody has like pure white eyes. Her daddy's eyes are not even white. So you don't need to worry about that. You're fine. We were discharged and then we went home. 4 days after, making it 5 days after birth, I tried to bring her out of her cot and give her bath in the morning and all of that. And the minute I just brought her out of her cot, she jerked. Now, she's my first child. I had no idea what convulsion is, what convulsion looks like, or even how a newborn convulsed. So I had no idea she was convulsing. And the first thing that I did was to scream Jesus, obviously. And then it was as though she calmed down and I tried to look at her again. She jerked. At this point, all you can see is the white part of the eyes. The iris, the black one, was completely gone. And I started to panic. I knew something was wrong. And then we rushed her to the hospital, which pretty much was like everything was working against us that day because there was so much traffic in Lagos that day for whatever reason. We were able to rush her to the hospital. By the time we got to the hospital, Trinity went into a coma. She wasn't responsive anymore. She was breathing, but she wasn't responsive. So they said she was jaundiced, she had sepsis, and that she was convulsing. Pretty much that's what put her in the coma. So they placed her in this machine and had all sorts of things all over her, which was crazy. Anyway, after that, she woke up 5 days after that, which was like the worst 5 days of my life. And I thought everything was over. We were done, we were good, we were discharged, and then we went home. But at 3 months, I noticed when you put her to sit, Trinity would stiffen herself and then slouch down. She would not sit. I knew within me something was wrong and it wasn't normal, because even though I had not grown with a lot of babies and children, I knew that at 3 months you should be able to put a child like on the corner of a chair and sit them to try to train them to sit. So I knew something was up. I took her to Lasuth. She was almost 4 months. I took her to Lasuth, and that was where I met a pediatrician who said, oh madam, I'm sorry, the convulsion and her going into a coma and all of that affected her, and your daughter has cerebral palsy. So that was when I finally knew something was wrong with this girl. They put a name to it, and yeah, pretty much that was how I got to know that Trinity had cerebral palsy. I didn't accept it, and I feel like anybody would react that way. I said, not my child. Even though things were staring me in the face, even though because the minute I was told what it was and I was able to get myself together, because I was alone with her at the hospital, and the minute I was able to get myself together and get to the house, the first thing I did was to go on Google and try to know what this big English was. And I immediately told myself, no, this is not me, this is not my daughter, this is not. My first reaction was denial. It cannot be me, it cannot be possible, it cannot be my little girl, this is not it. I denied it. I never accepted it. I tried as much as possible to tell myself I didn't just go to that hospital and I wasn't told all those things. Like, the doctor doesn't know what he's saying. I can say now that 7 years later that I have accepted to a large extent that this is what my life and her life is. But going through the early stages of being diagnosed with cerebral palsy, I denied it. I never accepted it. I remember I immediately went into fasting and prayers 6 to 6 every day for 365 days, and I was breastfeeding. I prayed for a miracle. I wished for a miracle. I needed a miracle, and I felt like God was going to do this for me. He was going to use this to let me know that he is God, pretty much. And so for the first year after she was diagnosed, I didn't accept. I didn't want to believe it. I kept believing a miracle. I kept searching for stories that were going to show me a miracle, that were going to tell me that it was going to get better. And we graduated from that, fasting for a whole year, going from, this is Nigeria, going from church to church, place to place. I remember taking her to a particular church. I don't want to mention their name, but if you know, Fire for Fire. And my baby was placed on fasting and prayer. She had to fast. That's how deep it was. She had to fast. I had to fast, believing that there was going to be a miracle. So after all of those were done and I didn't get the needed miracle, I went through a phase of resenting God and believing that God didn't love me, God wasn't with me, he didn't love my child. And all of that pretty much went on for a while before I got to a point where I said, well, if this is what it is, I can't run away from it, right? Like I always say, it is a child. It is not a shoe you bought from a store or groceries that you can take back and say, I don't want it again. Give me my money back. I cannot leave her and move on. I have to move on with her. And as such, I started to pretty much take each day as it comes. And that's how my acceptance journey has been. It's pretty much taking each day as it comes. I take each day as it comes. For example, her dad will never allow you use the word special needs for her because he still hasn't accepted, or he hasn't come to terms that this is what it is. So when you use words like special needs, cerebral palsy around her, he is very uncomfortable about it. So he would not allow that. But I can use such words now, and it doesn't in any way undermine her or make her any less of a human being or make her any less of a beautiful child that she is. So acceptance for me was hard, but it came with a sense of knowing that she's here for a reason, she's here for a purpose. There's definitely got to be a reason. I don't know why, but there's a reason why we are together and this has to happen. And that's just been it for me. Why wouldn't it be? Going into motherhood, and this is the first welcome you get. Your first child is not like you had any soft landing. Your first child is a special needs child, and you had to dive into motherhood with all of that. It's every single day is memorable. Sometimes when I realize that we've gone 7 years, I'm like, how did we come this far? Yes, it's been memorable. It's been life-changing. It's been beautiful, painful, sad. It's been every emotion you can possibly think of. So yes, I would say it's been memorable. You cannot write my story at this point without adding Trinity's story, and you cannot talk about me being a mom without bringing up Trinity's stories. I will not say how was I able to manage, because I'm still managing it. We live in a country where stigmatization is a big deal. You're stigmatized if you're married, you're stigmatized if you're not, you're stigmatized if you have children, and worse still if you have special needs children. I remember the early parts of her being a baby. If I take her for immunizations, I get moms staring at me, looking at me funny, to a point where going for immunizations, I would be so nervous, I would be so uncomfortable, and the minute I step out from the place, I start to weep. I would weep all the way home, just because you know, your eyes can say 1,000 things that your mouth isn't saying, and then these people are looking at you, they are whispering, they're saying all sorts of stuff. You're even there struggling with this baby, and nobody is coming forth to try to like help you. Everybody's just like looking at you as though you're a plague or your child is a plague. So I wasn't going out, I wasn't going anywhere, I wasn't even going to church. I'd rather just be indoors. But most recently, I told myself, you know what, I'm not going to keep this girl indoors forever. At some point, she's going to want to go out, experience life, and be around people. You're going to stay in the same compound with so many people that would know she's in that house. I can't keep her indoors. So I go out. I am nervous about people looking. I'm nervous about people talking, or even the ones that after whispering, they would come up to you and be like, excuse me, I can see your child, I can see something is wrong. Have you gone to this church? Have you tried this drug? You know, they believe they are holier than thou, and that's why things like that haven't happened to them. A ton of people will come to you and tell you all sort of stuff. The way I deal with it pretty much is I would just ignore it. If I'm going to talk to you, I'll talk. If you start staring too much, I'll ask you what's the problem. And if you can't talk, I'll tell you, you can please leave. I have taken her to public places, I've taken her to parks, I've taken her to restaurants. And if you're uncomfortable with my daughter, you're the one that has a problem, not her. I'm pretty much growing a tough skin to what people are going to do or what people are going to say. At this point, I already know if you walk up to me and you're trying to talk to me about her, I can imagine what you're going to say, and I have a response ready. I have it ready to give to you. Do you understand? So you're not going to beat me at it. You're not going to have me down and depressed about it. I have a response ready for you if you don't know how to behave yourself. Trinity is a foodie. And I will not even blame her, because with everything that I cook, Trinity is a foodie. She loves food. She loves everything food. Trinity is a super happy girl. As in, when I say super happy girl, Trinity is always happy. Even in pains, Trinity is happy. She enjoys food, any kind of food. Recently, she enjoys really matured food, like what you would think she would not eat. Trinity would eat it and enjoy it and ask for more. Trinity loves cartoons. She loves watching her favorite cartoons undisturbed. Like, you can literally give her her favorite cartoon and Trinity will not bug you unless she has to, like, maybe pee or ask you for something. That will just keep her, you know, busy. Another thing Trinity loves is going out. My goodness. Trinity loves when you take her out, when she sees outside life, like she's not in the house. The minute you're driving out of the house, she's excited. You know, you can see her jumping, she's pointing at stuff. Trinity loves to go out. She loves the outdoor. Anything outside the house, count her in. Especially if it's a place where she can walk around, jump around. I remember sometime last year, I took her for a food festival, and there they had like bouncing castles, they had chairs on the ground, they had so many things there, and Trinity was in her element. Trinity played with everything and anything. She was excited, she was happy. When she was in a coma for 5 days, those were the worst 5 days of my life, and all I could pray for, all I could wish for was that she wakes up from that coma and, you know, is that baby that I had 5 days ago. And the day she woke up, which I remember vividly, it was about 5 a.m. or to 5 in the morning. I can't place it exactly now, but it was really early. I remember I screamed that hospital down. My baby is up. That was a big deal for me. You know, she fought her way through and she came back, and you know, it was so memorable for me to have that moment. Fast forward a few years later, there was a day she convulsed back to back 3 times. Like, she convulsed, she woke up, she convulsed, she woke up, and then she convulsed again. By the time she convulsed the third time, Trinity did not wake up. She convulsed like 1 a.m. in the night or in the morning, and she woke up like to 9 in the morning. There was nothing you could tell me that period. I'm trying so hard not to cry. I just wanted my baby to wake up. She passed out 1 a.m. and she didn't wake up till 9 a.m. Now, the reason this particular one was so memorable was I didn't have the funds to even take her to a good hospital. I literally started calling people, begging anybody and everybody at that point, because I knew the girl needed help. So, and I felt like a failure at that point, because I felt like, why can't you just give this girl what she needs? When she woke up from that, it was more like, I love you, I'm here with you, regardless of your shortcomings or whatever it is that you think you should be doing or you're not doing for me, I'm here. So it was a big deal for me to have her wake up after those hours. The truth is, it has always been myself. I have pretty much been my biggest support system. Something happened last 2021. I got to a point where I said, you know what, I'm going to walk to the express road and let a truck come in, just pass through me, because I was done. I had it up to here with dealing with this, and the fact that, you know, you can't talk about it, family is like, shh, don't talk about it and all of that. So it was hard for me. I was at my breaking point. I was depressed. I was out of it. And somehow I made a post on my Insta story, and God used that post to pretty much turn things around for me. And ever since then, I have this big support system on Instagram. Every single person that saw my Insta story during that period have been there for me. If I want to mention names, it's going to be so much. But you know, I came across so many women, majority of them don't even live in Nigeria, that check up on Trinity from time to time, that lets me know there's nothing wrong with you, there's nothing wrong with your children or your daughter. So I would say my Instagram family. Outside me, it will be my Instagram family, because I got support, I got love, I got this embrace from them, which I never had. And yeah, outside that, I'm standing for myself. I'm standing for my daughter. I am my biggest support system. For Trinity to be happy, I constantly worry about the kind of people that she would be around. She goes to school, for example, and I'm always worried how children react to her, what they say to her, do they like her? Because Trinity, like I said, she's a hugger, she's a very happy person. So she's always seeing the good in people. When she sees you, she wants to hug you, she wants to be your friend. And I have personally witnessed children intentionally pushing her away and treating her a certain way, so much that Trinity automatically now knows that if you look at her a certain way, she just walks away. And every time that happens, it really breaks my heart, because I do not want her to see the world as, you know, a place where there's hatred and all of that. My sincere hope is that she would be happy. My sincere hope is that she continues to progress. At this point, we have her walking on her feet and, you know, feeding herself. I wish for her to talk. She's having therapy for that, but I'm believing God that she's going to talk. But in all, I just want her to have a beautiful life. I want her to have the best that life can offer, which is why I put everything about me and everything that I walk into Trinity, because I just want her to have the best of life. Medical practitioners have already messed up something about her life, you know. I don't want anything else to be taken away from her, no matter how small. I just want her to be happy, always happy, always happy. If you're a parent with a special needs child, first off, I'm going to tell you thumbs up, because it is not easy. There are a ton of us that give up on these children even before they come into this world. There are a ton of us that tell the doctors, let this child go so that they don't have to suffer and I don't have to suffer, pretty much so they don't live their life. So if you're a special needs parent, the first thing I'll tell you is thumbs up. The second thing I'll tell you is, which I know you're probably asking, does it get better? No, it doesn't get better. You get better at dealing with it. Meaning what you do, how you go about it, how you see your child, how you love your child, how much of, medical assistance you give to your child, if they require surgery, if they need assistance devices to sit, to sleep, to walk, and all of that stuff, therapy, which I know is draining, because oftentimes it seems like you're doing something over and over, you're not getting a result. But I will tell you to keep at it, because you will definitely get the results no matter how little. Even if it's just them feeding themselves at 7, it's a big deal. Trinity did not sit till she was 1 year and 2 months, and that took consistent care from my side. I discovered Trinity only sits in water and she doesn't sit when you bring her out of water. I had no idea about hydrotherapy, so I researched about it and I noticed that was hydrotherapy. So what I was doing was sit her in the water for longer times, and that was how the muscles in her back were strengthened and she was able to sit. This would not come if I didn't love her so much to try to see what I can do. So it will get better if you are ready to love your child. I would say love them like a regular child. Do not see them any less. Do not see them as there's something wrong with them. They are defective. They're not. Love them. Love God. Get a life. Get a life. That one is important. If your day-to-day is surrounded around this child or children, you don't do anything else, it's going to drain you. You're going to be depressed. You will resent God, the child, your life. You're pretty much going to be very unhappy. So get a life as much as possible, especially if you live in Nigeria where we don't have any form of support from the system. Get a life, get something doing. If you have a great support system like family or friends, do not let go of them, and just make those children as happy as you can, because you would agree with me that they always try to make us happy one way or the other. They're always trying to make us happy. So do your best to allow them live their best life, and you to live your best life. Be happy. God has a reason why he chose you, gave you this child, and is allowing you to go through this.